Hello and welcome everyone. It's Washington Commanders today, episode 29. It should be a fun one, should it? It's like just 3 episodes to go after this one, yet the best is still to come, and I think one of these episodes is going to be great, and Washington has definitely makings of that. What a year for Commanders, previously football team, previously Redskins. It kind of finishing this era of new breath for Commanders, really turning around from, let's say, bad ownership towards bright new future, and this season just went from supposedly really bad state of Commanders towards really interesting future. How did that happen? Who is responsible? I think you guys know, but we will talk about him, don't you worry. If you guys enjoy this series, please leave a like, leave a comment, share this video with any of your friends that enjoy NFL. I will appreciate it as well. But with that being said, let's just start with the guy. Obviously, we'll start with draft review, and it's going to start with Jayden Daniels. So, needless to be said, I was wrong. I was dead wrong on what Jayden Daniels could be in the NFL, because I didn't super hated this pick in terms of where this franchise was at. Getting a QB that's offering, in my eyes, better floor but a lower ceiling when you choose between Jayden Daniels and Drake May. Felt like, okay, we need some stability. We need someone that's going to give fans the hope, that will be relevant, that is going to exceed what we are as of right now. So I figured out him and Cliff Kingsbury that he should be a good QB for them. Hence, he was starting as a decent starter, not a good backup for me. So I thought that he's going to work, but where I would always, a year ago, choose Drake May, and, well, I'm not going to say it now, but I would definitely do it a year ago, is I had questions about Jayden potential. I did not see him as anything more in any future, or not in any future, but in reasonable future, within the realm of 95% of probabilities to exceed Tuas of the world, Dak Prescott's of the world, these guys that I have around 10th to 12th best, that's more of Dak, obviously. With Tua, it's more like 15, 17. And I felt like that's at most best scenarios, that's the Jayden Daniels ceiling. Boy, oh boy, I was wrong, because after year one, this was overcoming what CJ Stroud did with the Texans last season. It was the best rookie QB performance I've ever seen. And I've seen Deshaun Watson, I've seen Joe Burrow, I've seen flashes of brilliance, but I have never seen this. With the cast around him, that was just special. And needless to say, I was dead wrong about his potential. I never saw this possible. If this is who he became in year 5 of his rookie deal, I would be super impressed. Imagine how impressed I am after year 1. Just freaking impressive. And what was it about Jayden that really made it for me? So many things. He did not crumble under the pressure. Otherwise, he kind of looked like he enjoys to be cool in the moment. He really looked poised. I've seen, I believe we've all seen footages of him just sitting on the sideline, pretty much acting like this was just a preseason game in terms of how calm he looked. And this is something that back in the days, Russell Wilson talked a lot about, staying neutral in terms of, don't get high highs, don't get high lows, just being constantly the most neutral version of yourself, which means just be yourself, be the kind of the best version in this area, because then, if you made a good play, you can slightly feed on it, but it's not going to drive you insane in a way that you just can do everything suddenly. It builds up your self-confidence, but it doesn't make you fly over the moon. So I've seen something in Jayden Ennis. Obviously, like I'm not going to compare him to Russell. There are mixed opinions about Russell and things like that. So I don't want to get into this. But it was just super fun. And the other thing that got me super excited for his future was the fact that we all knew that he can use his legs as a weapon. He's a great runner. But he used the threat of his rushing ability as a weapon, which is really like mature. Like, yeah, he's an older prospect, like don't get me wrong, like he's just like 1 year younger than Trevor Lawrence, I believe. Like he is definitely like older prospect, but like to come into NFL and do this in year one, it just blew my mind. And like even when you saw him actually escaping the pocket, rushing with the ball, it wasn't like at college, it felt like that's what is on his mind. Like, I want to outrush everyone. I want to show that I can do it with my legs. Here, it felt like he, specifically later in the year, like especially in there, like he always looked to pass the ball as well. Like, not only that he is going to drive you mad because he's going to avoid the sack, but if you commit more bodies towards chasing him, that perhaps you should, he can punish you as well because now his head is not here. He's looking to throw the ball. And yeah, that was just hella impressive. To me, like I've never done this, never expected myself kind of to do this, but to me he probably would be the 5th best QB right now. If I had to choose the one guy that to me is 5th, behind the big 4, Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar, I would probably go with Jayden Daniels. Year one, like, you could have not asked for more. Like, this is beyond the wildest dreams of every Commanders fans. And, you know, on behalf of the rest of the NFL that seen you suffer for years, I'm happy for you guys. I am happy. And, like, one more thing that I will put as another note towards Jayden is when you see guys thrive, or when you expect them to thrive, it's usually because there is a great situation around them. And that's what I really appreciate with CJ Stroud last year, because there was not a great cast around CJ Stroud. It was not like bad, and neither it was here. Like, he had some offensive weapons, especially like Terry McLaurin, but when you were entering the year, you know, if there is any strength in this team, you would thought that it will come from defense. You know, they hired defensive head coach and Quinn, and they had some highly paid defensive players, especially on the D-line. They brought guys like Bobby Wagner, Frankie Louvu, Jeremy Chin. That secondary has like had a lot of potential entering the year. So it would be like, okay, so maybe, you know, Washington can make a playoff and everything goes really, really, really well. But it's not like, it wasn't necessarily on the backs of Jayden Daniels, but here we were in the year, and the defense was not good. Like, especially the D-line was absolutely underperforming what you expected of them. Like, Darren Payne, Jonathan Allen, we were talking about them, but they were supposed to be like kind of almost your best players, and they didn't play like that. So that's another thing. They really needed him to be the hero for this team, right? Like, if I'm watching this, just give me a second. So, no. Yeah, there was not a playoff team that allowed more points than Commanders. There was not one. Okay? So that just tells you how much they freaking needed Jayden Daniels to step it up and be the hero for this team. And boy, oh boy, he freaking delivered. So, huge kudos to Jayden. If I could change my grade right now, it would be A++++, whatever. Exceptional, and I can wait to see him in next couple of years with what definitely should be a better cast around him than in his year one, because with the amount of money they will have to spend, or they have to spend in free agency, this should be the worst cast that we've seen around Jayden Daniels for upcoming 3 to 4 seasons when he's on rookie deal. And, you know, can he like really make the 4 become 5? I definitely think so, and I'm looking forward to that. So, Jayden, my kudos, my apologies, great for you. Now, let's move towards the other parts of this draft. And here I'm going to, like, not for last, but I'm going to give yet another credit to Jaden Daniels, because as we will see, this is not a draft that was necessarily like they've hit on everyone, everybody stepped up. Like, you will get to see, like, it was kind of up and coming draft. And also when you realize that their first rounder from last season, from 2023, they already released him. So it's like they really didn't have too much to work with in terms of past regime, passing, great drafts, great prospects, great roster. Like almost nothing was in place. And it's not like we made an insane draft and we just figured everything out. No, you drafted Jaden Daniels. that's it. Obviously, that's not everything. We'll talk about other pieces, but yeah, it was Jaden. So, Jerjan Newton, I will not lower him because I feel like definitely in second part of the year he started to come up. He was injured during the draft process. That's probably why he felt where he felt. I still feel like Falcons drafting Rook Ororo and actually jumping Commanders to draft Rook is one of the biggest mistakes of the draft, but you can hear me talk about that with the Falcons. But Johnny, aka Jerjan, did not necessarily hit the ground running as much as I expected, though I would say a lot of it was about the injury. When he was finally able to sustain health, he looked okay. He didn't look great, but he looked okay, and we'll see what the second year will be for him. I definitely feel like this could be a future leader of that defensive line. Then Mike Sanders, I was I was higher on this pick than I would say consensus were, and he delivered year one. Again, similar case to some other players, really kind of taking the league by the storm of rookie corners, not actually playing outside that much, though Sanders still did play majority of the snaps outside, but he was kind of in reverse to other guys. We've seen a lot of young rookies come in and play as a really good slot corners. And with Mike, he was supposed to be the certainest thing in terms of if you pick this guy, you will have a great slot corner. That was always Mike Sanders draft profile, and it was how high can you draft such a guy when you don't expect him to play outside? Well, Mike played only 151 snaps as a slot. He played almost 1,000 snaps as a wide and outside corner, and he did freaking well. So a huge surprise. That was not necessarily I like this pick. What I thought it would be, really great slot corner that we could talk as early as year one as a top 10 slot corner in the league. I really felt like that's where he's going to thrive, and he surprised me. Obviously, it was partly because this team didn't really have that much to offer in terms of other corners. Emmanuel Forbes, like I said, they already got rid of him, so it was kind of from necessity, I would say, to push Mike to play outside. And he freaking delivered. He was a great ball hawk. He was very solid in both parts of the game. And to me, he kind of remind me Kamari Lassiter that we talked about with the Texans episode. But unlike Kamari, for majority of the year, he didn't have number one next to him like Kamari has Derek Stingley. For majority of the year, Mike needed to be that best corner out there. They obviously brought Marshall Lattimore back in the year, though through injuries he did not play much when he played. It was not necessarily great, but great pick for Mike Sanders, and he delivered year one. Brandon Coleman is going to be next. Now we go for Ben Sinnott. Always a little bit questionable pick, as you can see by my grades, but also consensus grades. It's this was really awesome draft. And Ben Sinnott upside is probably really great tight end too that you can count with his blocking abilities. Can he once upon a time become very solid player? Perhaps, but again, this is necessarily not the upside that you should be picking with like super early in this draft. And I think year one kind of showed Ben like in this light, but he's a solid player. He has really good blocking, but he doesn't offer too much in terms of pass catching abilities. And his future probably is like, yeah, he could spend a lot of years at least around the league or even with Commanders being really solid tight end too that you can count on and is going to earn like decent chunk of money. But compared to where you drafted him after you won, I would not change my grade at all. Now let's go to Brandon Coleman, and here I would definitely go a little bit higher with my grade because while I believe he was outplayed by another left tackle in Cornelius Lucas, when he was out there, and actually it was for a lot of snaps because they've decided to really go for Brandon Coleman, he had really solid year for a rookie tackle. Did he ascend himself towards like, you are absolutely certain that this guy is your franchise tackle? No, but again, like I've said it several times, like if this was a first round rookie tackle and put up this kind of performance, you would not be discouraged. So as of right now, this actually feels like a good pick. Not necessarily a great one, not necessarily anything amazing, any steal, but really a really good one for Brandon Coleman. I am not going to change though my opinions on Luke McCaffrey. Yeah, I've like upped him to good backup because like he got there, he get some playtime, he was solid, but again, like this was way too freaking early for Luke McCaffrey. I mean, if his name was different, I feel like he would be on the board for like at least 50 more picks, and I would be say, well, that probably should have happened. Like I don't change that after first year. And like we said with Jaden, this was probably like the worst cast around him. And he was out there, but he really was not making too many plays, was not getting open that much. And I'm not sure like what is his future with the Commanders, like if he's going to be ever anything more than like wide receiver 4 at best, wide receiver 5 probably most of the time. So we will see. Like there were some good flashes with him, but still very very high. I would probably go to like C- for him, but yeah, not a fan. And first year did not swing me towards being a fan of this pick. Jordan McGee, Dominic Hampton, Javonte J. Baptist, like they got something from this guy, especially like with Javonte. He played like almost 250 snaps and he looked apart. So, I could have made another slide about him. It was like he wasn't really on my radar, and I don't think like he's necessarily there after year one. Like he looked solid. I'm not sure if I would even bump up his grade towards a good backup because it was just not that many snaps. Jordan McGee played 17, Dominic Hampton did not play at all. With that being said, let's take a look at this roster all together. And we start with QBs. About Jaden, I feel like we've talked already. I don't think you can talk too much about Jaden, but like given how these episodes usually go between an hour and a half, we probably should not spend more than like 15 minutes or 10 that we already did on Jaden. So with all pardons, I'm going to skip him towards Marcus Mariota, who looked very comfortable in the system, and I do not necessarily believe that it's in him to become like next Sam Darnold story or next Geno Smith or next Baker, but to me he kind of pushed himself towards the level of guys like Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, perhaps Daniel Jones, like guys are like closer to this level because like the amount of snaps was not necessarily too high for me to like completely change, not completely, but like push him super high. So he would be lower on the list, but definitely a guy that if you are looking for a bridge QB that has a lot of experience and can give you some good games, I think Marcus Mariota could be a guy that we will see starting in the future. He could be. Is it certainty? No. I really feel like for him it probably be the best. Continue here. I feel like they definitely would like to have him back. So we will see about that. In terms of running backs, those two guys, Austin Ekeler and Brian Robinson, they are both on my watch list over the summer, because when I'm looking at them being ranked as just good starters, I feel like maybe that's not proper. Like, both of them are definitely very close to important starter in my eyes, and perhaps I should have made that switch. I will definitely need to recheck some of their plays during the summer, because and when I really looked at how I have these guys ranked, it was, how much do you benefit from having Jayden Daniels there? Like, how much can you bring on the table as kind of yourself, Or is it because your lane is much more open, because the linebacker needs to have eyes on Jayden and is not watching you? So that's something I did not necessarily see after the glamour of Jayden. He kind of overshadowed a lot of things here. So both of these guys, they really look good. I have to give him that. That was visible on first sight, especially for Austin Ekeler. It was clear that he is close to being back to what he was for the Chargers. Probably not towards the same. I would have him as an amazing starter in his prime, but really close to being back. Really feel like his legs are back, that he is not washed in a way. And with Brian Robinson, he just continues to get better. So both of these guys really looked good on the film and when I was watching the games. But how much was that with Jayden? That's where I probably need to revisit this guy. So if you are really feeling bad that they didn't get to important starters for me, maybe it will happen before the season starts. But for both of them, really great seasons, both attacking 1,000 yards. Austin getting just over 900 combined, Brian over 1,100, so really, really great for them. Chris Rodriguez, when he needed to step in, he looked apart. We will see what the future holds for him. And definitely this was a hugely fun run game to look at with Brian, Austin, and Jayden specifically. Now let's look at wide receivers. And here, once again, there is a guy that might be too low, because I really like Terry McLaurin, and I'm like, should I promote him to elite category? And I was like, the production was there, but did I really feel like he is at that, perhaps another guy, if I compare his season to Nico Collins, was he better than that? Probably not. Was he better than Mike Evans this year? I don't think so. So other guys that I really promoted towards that elite starter category, I felt like had slightly better seasons than Terry, but definitely one guy that I absolutely need to recheck over the summer whether he should be in that elite category, because to me he's as close as it gets, and he's been there for a while. So perhaps I should have just given it to him, because he was really freaking special, and it was really fun to watch him with a great QB. Something I've envisioned to happen with DJ Moore, and it didn't. It necessarily didn't. Both DJ and Caleb had worse years than I expected. With Terry, it was really great. So Terry, maybe you will get your elite starter over the summer. I will let you know. In terms of other guys, this was always kind of okay. At least Jayden Daniels is entering a situation where he has his one in Terry McLaurin. And Terry, for a lot of people out there, would be very underappreciated, because, again, he never had really good QB throwing him the football. So in eyes of a public, he would probably not crack top 10 lists in terms of wide receivers, though he definitely should have been on edge for a couple of years. And it kind of was the case for the season in Washington. There was Terry, and there was a gap. But what a great job by this front office, because they found their role player guys that all not necessarily carve themselves up a role that they will be number twos that you want to rely on, but both play, not both, but kind of all of them played like great number threes that you can use for different roles. Like just look at Diami Brown. Like he catched almost everything. Was he the hyper productive again, like around red zone? No, but he get you the yards that you really freaking needed. Olamide Zaccheaus, like a guy that, we all knew that there was a talent with him, but he just was not able to necessarily like sell it or get the best out of himself with the Eagles, and like it's hard to do so. And we will talk about it with the Eagles episode, because when you are with the Eagles and you are third wide receiver or fourth wide receiver, it's like there is no target for you. Like they want to run the ball, and if they want to throw, there is AJ Brown, there's Dallas Goedert, there is Devonta Smith. So after the year with the Eagles, where he just like was just a guy and not necessarily even like with the Falcons, but then again you have to look at the Falcons not necessarily having the great quarterbacks in the past and always having Drake London and Kyle Pitts that they wanted to funnel offense to. So with Zaccheaus, this was finally a chance for him that the targets were going to go his way, and he took a huge leaps forward. I think he showed that he is a valuable player. Again, not necessarily a guy that you trust that he's going to be like super great, but definitely a very useful player and great pickup for them. They kind of did the same with Diami Brown in terms of like, again, was this guy the great, the best, whatever you want to call him? No, but they were able to find him a role that was the best for him as well as for this team. And in his fourth year as a Commander, he kind of finally had his breakout year. And like, is this breakout like, is he number 2 that you won't have behind Terry? No, but they knew that they have limited resources, limited like pushing power, because like before the season, who would want to come here? Like unproven rookie quarterback, not necessarily Ben Johnson that every Commanders fan envisioned to come here. They did a great job by finding the guys that were cheap, like obviously Diami was there, but finding in terms of Olamide or in terms of another Brown, in Noah Brown, finding the guys that they could come for really cheap and make a utilization out of them. So huge credit to both GM and Cliff Kingsbury for using them as great as they could. And huge credit obviously to Jaden Daniels, because like none of these guys, even after the season, I have as like really good players. Like they are very solid players, but that's pretty much it. He showed how to play with those guys and how to elevate them, and they really took a huge advantage for having such a great player. And actually, I really think that there needs to be a huge credit towards Cliff Kingsbury as well. With Luke, we already talked about him. Wide receiver 5, that was kind of his role. Solid, nothing much more than that. Now let's shift our focus towards tight ends, because we talk about Ben Sinnott. With John Bates, I don't really have much to say. It's kind of only a shade on John Bates, on Ben Sinnott, obviously, that he kind of didn't really like get more opportunities over John Bates, who struggled pretty much the whole season. So the fact that he did not like outplay him for the snaps was kind of disappointing. But the one guy that I really want to talk about is Zach Ertz, because this was viewed as, well, they've drafted Ben Sinnott and they picked up Zach Ertz for a really cheap guy that is probably totally washed, looked kind of terrible like his past season, and yeah, like this is gone. He's probably gone. So we are getting him here, so we don't have to throw Ben Sinnott week 1 out there. We have this veteran that we do expect that he can give us like a couple of weeks of solid play, and be a great mentor for Ben Simmons. Well, that did not happen. Zach Ertz did play week 1, then he did play week 2, and he played the whole season. And not because Ben Simmons played bad, kind of did. Not because Jones Bates played bad, he kind of did. But because Zach freaking Ertz just played freaking great. Like, I did not see this year from Zach Ertz. Like, I did not see this one happening. I think this was best version of Zach in last 5 years. Obviously, they have some connection with Cliff from Cardinals, and it was seen. But where he was probably like shining the most was, and like it's kind of lazy con, but Kelsey like chemistry with Jaden Daniels, what Kelsey and Mahomes had, especially in the past in terms of scramblers. Like Zach Ertz was totally a security blanket for Jaden Daniels. He really understood how he needs to like, and why wouldn't he? Like he's in there like for 15 years. He was really special at that. So, and it wasn't just that. Like he was really sometimes fighting hard, showing not necessarily great speed, but speed that I did not anticipate from him. So, what a revelation for Zach. And I had him as a decent starter, and I was totally prepared to like move him to good backup, or potentially even worse, because like he really was not playing well the last couple of years. But I needed to upper him, and like I wonder what's left in the tank for the veteran, because I really feel like he wants to continue to play, and I do expect him to be back on the roster, and he absolutely freaking deserved it. Now towards offensive line, and we talk about Jaden, we talk about other guys, but this was definitely a bunch of guys that did not make you feel super great about the Jaden Daniels chances. Let's start with Cornelius Lucas, this kind of veteran that, like, always when he played, he kind of looked solid, but somehow, he never got like the full starting opportunity during his career, and his career is damn freaking long. And again, like, he played very well as a left tackle, but then, they've invested kind of highly into Brandon Coleman, so they were kind of switching who plays not even each week, but kind of within a game. And at the end of the day, they've decided to go with Coleman, despite Lucas. I mean, really, I feel like he looked freaking solid. So, he was like pretty much meshing it up with Coleman first 8 weeks. Then, he got sprinkled in and out of the lineup. Really, I don't know. Like, I mean, is he your franchise tackle? No. Do you want to like eventually replace him? Yes. But like, it really felt weird when, in terms of like, this was a year that you kind of get an unexpected opportunity. Perhaps you should go with a guy that's playing better. So that's just me. But towards Brandon Coleman, I cannot really say that he played poorly. Like I said, like I really think that for a rookie tackle, especially left one, this was a very solid season, given that the draft pedigree was not insane. Did he do enough for me to like up him towards the decent starter category? Not just yet, but I feel encouraged about his future. On the other side, Andrew Wiley, they kind of went the route where they looked at Chiefs O-line. I feel like, well, the guys that you sometimes get to play behind the beasts that you have there, well, they don't actually look bad, and they could be reasonably cheap, so let's just bring them over. It was the case for Andrew Wiley, and it was the case for Nick Allegretti. And both of them, like, were they like shockingly great? Were there someone that you are just like super excited to have? No, but for the money that you are paying them, they've become an insane value. Like they are decent starters. We will talk about Nick too, but I mean, yeah, let's talk about both of these guys kind of combined. You can see Nick here, because to me they are kind of very similar deal. It's like they brought him for cheap, like thinking they are these guys on the verge of being starters for them, both Nick and Andrew. Like perhaps not year one where they kind of needed them to be started, but for the future, like if they don't hit, the cap hits for them are not great, like not super expensive. For Nick, it's about 5 million a year. That's his average. For Wiley, it's 8 million a year. So we're kind of okay. We are improving our O-line now because we have a rookie QB and we just don't want to go with a bunch of rookies out there. We really want someone solid. And we actually believe that these guys could be really those 24th best right tackle, 24th best left guard in the league. And, give us this. That's probably their upside. You don't necessarily expect them to become, even average guys. But for the money you are paying, that's insane value. And after year one, both of them absolutely delivered. Like, again, were they super great? Are those guys like the one that you want to pay 20 million a year? Hell no. But exceptional value right now. Like, you are paying Nick Allegretti, his cap hit in 2025 is 3.6 million because they kind of shifted the money. Like, his average cap hit is 5.5 million. And he would be starting on other 10 to 12 teams in the league. On some teams it would be over a rookie that would expect to overcome him. But that's kind of the case for them. Like, they are really solid base that, when you have time, when you have opportunity, you can try to replace. You obviously hope that they can still develop, especially like in case of Nick, he's not that old. Andrew is over 30 and he was undrafted. Well, Nick also fell into 7 rounds. So this is like really both very similar scenarios for these guys. Getting the starting opportunity for not necessarily starting level money, delivering solid starting performance, and now they just give you so much flexibility. Like, you want to continue with these two guys, I think you are absolutely okay with that. Like, you cannot be super great on every position, and if you have 24th best right tackle, 24th best left guard in the league, and now you have Tyler Biadasz, who's like average to above average center, really nice. And yet another pickup for this front office, and yet another one that, like, this, I don't think that materializes as a super value, but 3 years, 30 millions for a great starting center, it's a very solid deal. And then you have your superstar in Sam Cosmi, who is one of the best, or at least better guards in football. I would definitely have him as like a top 10 right guard. Suddenly you have like an average offensive line if you bring left tackle into the mix. And with Cornelius Lucas, I mean, they played like kind of an average O-line. Like Brandon Coleman, okay, slightly below average, but that's where you kind of hope for the potential. Or what they did this offseason, where they were able to snatch Laramie Tunsil, but about that in the future. But like, this is really nice kind of budget developing of an O-line, because if you think about that, when we not talk about Brandon Coleman, but when you take Cornelius Lucas as a starter, they would have had 0 guys on rookie contracts, and we obviously know that rookie contracts are cheap compared to guys that are signed post their rookie deals. Yet their offensive line would have been around what? Like, I'm going to give you almost like exact numbers. So Andrew Wiley, you have 8 million a year. Sam Cosmi, you have 18.5 million a year. Tyler, you have 10, so that's 20.5. Nick 5 is 34.5, 41. So around for 35 millions without rookie deals to build an O-line who is just solid. That's great. That's great. That's really great. Trust me. Like, it's super hard to build like O-line on a budget that is this good. Again, like, is this the best O-line? Is this Detroit? Is this Philadelphia? Hell no. But compare the money spent there and compare it here. I feel like really great job from the front office, and again from Cliff Kingsbury, to being able to utilize them very well. So that's Nick and Andrew. With Tyler, again, very solid pickup. Sam Cosmi, I feel like you would like for him to have, like, I would say, more impact this year than he had. Kind of like slowed down from a trajectory that he was a year before. I feel like he was probably the guy that, I wouldn't say like struggled the most, because he still played as the best member of this O-line, but compared to expectations, he did not step it up. Like, to me, he just was on the level that I expected him to be or slightly below that, but he was still freaking great. It was just with his age, there was hope that he could really elevate to being an amazing starter or even potentially an elite starter. Like, this was still just his 4th season in the league, so there is still obviously huge expectations from Sam. And like, if he stays like this, yeah, that's he's adequately paid. There was hope he could step it up even more. But overall, like, this is really good offensive line, especially compared to how much you are paying these guys. Now let's shift towards defensive side of the ball. And I would say another player that during summer review I might bump up his grade, because out of this whole defensive line, he was the best performer in Dorrance Armstrong. And I was kind of critical of his signing, because I really felt like when you have a strong bond, because he was with Dan Quinn in the Cowboys, I actually feel like you should be able to get him on cheaper deal. And to me, like, 11 million a year for what they were signing, not really a proven starter. Yeah, I was not really thinking that was a huge value, but I feel like year one, he definitely delivered and earned himself this contract, and perhaps even outplayed it. He was really great, and like, despite the fact that the rest of the D-line, was underperforming, he was really sometimes a guy that was able to drag it on their shoulders. On the other side of the edge, Dante Fowler, again, very solid season for. Can we call him a veteran? Like, what do you think, guys? Can we call Dante Fowler a veteran? I think so, right? I think we can do that. Yeah, I mean, 30 years. I think we can do that. Yeah, like, not necessarily a guy that should be delivering like number edge numbers, and like, his sacks looks I would say better than you should really like super give them credit to. But like, if you look at just that number, it looks better than his whole production. But he was productive. He was delivering like very good snaps for them, and for kind of cheap veteran, he was actually solid. I would say solid number 2. You definitely want to see him like much more as that number 3. But from, I would say, draft to bust in, because like back in his days, he was drafted as 3rd overall. He definitely never lived up to that. But he's able to carve himself up really nice like role in the NFL. And kind of after this year, I believe he went back towards Dallas. So 1 year stint with Washington was quite good for him. With Clarence Farrell, another like highly drafted guy that they kind of took some chances of those guys. He was 4th overall. Like, they really went for, okay. There was a massive turnaround with Commander squad. I believe it was like over 65% in terms of first 18 months of a new GM. So that's like obviously massive, or even like 12 months. So that's something crazy. And part of it was like, let's take a chance on the guys that we know are going to be reasonably cheap and has this draft pedigree, and let's just hope that Dan Quinn can make them work. I would necessarily say that neither of them had a resurrection in terms of what we see with some of the quarterbacks, highly drafted, that really can develop their top game later in the career. But they were solid pieces. Obviously, again, when we talk about Jaden Daniels and like the worst cast around him, I would say that probably goes the same way about this defense. Like, this was year 1 of Dan Quinn's new regime. They were throwing darts, and some of them worked solidly, some of them not necessarily that much, but most of them really nicely. And with Dorrance Armstrong, I feel like you are getting value now, and he might be an important starter during my summer review. Now, where it didn't work, those were the guys that this regime inherited in Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne. Once upon a time, top 3, possibly even the best interior duo in the league. Those times are gone. Injuries, they played a part, but age probably starts to play a part as well. Though they are not necessarily like super old, like Darren Payne is 28. But they just like it's not there anymore. Like what are we doing, guys? As you will see on the slides, I've predicted them cutting Jonathan Allen. But like even Darren Payne, like this is getting ugly. Like you are paying these guys, or you were paying these guys around 20 mils a year, and you are getting almost replaceable level starter, production. Like I'm not saying they are bad players, but absolutely not worth the money. And from what once upon a time was this insanely highly drafted defense with Payne, Allen, Jesus guys, Montez Sweat, and God, I cannot remember his name. The guy that was 2020 NFL draft. Oh my God, sorry, Chase Young. Sorry. So they've invested, like the previous regime invested like super highly into this D line, and like within a year it's all gone pretty much. Like Chase Young traded, Montez Sweat traded, Jonathan Allen cut in this offseason as we predicted. Darren Payne still here, but kind of because cutting him this season would have been really damn expensive. Like he has 54 million in terms of cap hit left on his contract. You could save 24 if you cut him this year, but still 30 would be on a dead cap. So cutting him this year was probably never like super solid option next year. If he continues to play like that, I think you will be able to save around 15 million. So that definitely should be something on their mind. And the rookie that should just be, like the idea of Jerjon, not necessarily, like one idea was, these guys don't necessarily great, let's replace them in the future. But also it was like, well, if they are able to be great, like they will obviously need sometimes to get off the field. And, if we can unleash Jerjon Newton towards interiors that are going to be like hugely worried about Allen and Payne and perhaps not taking too much care about the rookie, he could definitely earn himself and deliver. Well, the plan A is still there, but the plan B just did not work because I don't think nobody was like super afraid of this duo, unfortunately, for the Commanders. So really duo that under-delivered and rookie that didn't over-delivered, as I would say. Now let's shift towards linebackers, and this was definitely, in terms of this defense, the funniest and most exciting pair or guys to watch. And I have to start with one of my guys, Bobby freaking Wagner. He keeps doing this, man. I was so happy that when Seahawks decided again that it's time to move on from Bobby, that he went and go with Dan Quinn, who's obviously in the past was a defensive coordinator with the Seahawks and one of the members of a Super Bowl winning team. And what a year Bobby delivered. Like, is he still at his age the best run defending linebacker in the league? Yeah, I think you can definitely make this argument. And they were able to utilize him as a pass rusher as well. Like, his blitzes were really amazing. Obviously, his coverage with his age, like it really goes down. Like, he's not as fluid as you would like. His hips are older man hips. Like older. But like, is he even older than me? I think he is. Yeah, he's slightly older than me, but not for much, like a year. So, like I'm talking older man hips, but we obviously talking compared to playing NFL football age. But like he was crazy. He was crazy out there, and I definitely believe that he will want to continue to play football, and the Commanders should be the destination where to do so. Next to him, Frankie Louvu, this unleashed dynamo, really a player that you will notice. Like when you are watching Commanders defense, you will notice Frankie Louvu out there. Like sometimes it's going to be for bad reasons. Like did he necessarily like cemented himself as one of the better linebackers in terms of league. That once upon a time there was this belief. No, but I really feel like he played very, very solid, and next to Bobby, they were able to utilize their qualities combined very, very well. So really fun duo, and two guys that you would hope that they will figure out the way to bring back together. In terms of safeties, firstly I will talk about the guy that's not here, which was Derek Forrest, kind of a guy that I was surprised that they didn't really lean into too much, because I really felt like he has a nice NFL potential, but they went with other guys. Some good, some bad. Percy Butler definitely was a huge disappointment in terms of his coverage. Like, again, we talk about passer rating above 120 is just really, really bad. And then when it's in 140s, it means like QBs are actively looking for a spot where you are supposed to be, because more often than not, you are not there. You are not where you should have been. So for Percy Butler, which was his third year, I believe, in the NFL, after some promise, this was a very, very disappointing season. And with if you would like look at this before the season started, and it would be like, okay, he had a bad season, you would still feel like perhaps there could be a chance for him to like get back on track. Well, with Commanders around Daniels, they are kind of in win now mode. I don't think there's necessarily too much place for a guy like Percy Butler on the starting roster for them. GMaty, a guy that kind of was brought here on 1 year type of prove it deal, show us what you get. We will decide whether we want to continue with you in the future, or like you are just like solid 1 year option. You come here, you can get a lot of playing time. We will unleash you. We are having a good defensive coordinator. That was kind of GMaty, and there was Bobby Wagner. There was also Frankie Lou. Like all of these guys that like, and Bobby obviously have a hugely experienced, great veteran, and in these two guys, it's like guys that want to get paid. There is a lot of potential in them, but necessarily didn't show it in terms of NFL. So they kind of went here on a 1 year deal, knowing that they would get the playtime. Neither of them, I would say, necessarily like ascend to greatness or show that all of the potential that you would hope that it's there, but both played very, very solid. In terms of Juan Martin, second year for the second round pick, he continues to be solid. He did not necessarily step it up in year two. Like it was a solid season. It was nothing more, but for a second round safety, that's a kind of a solid result in 2 years into his career. Like he's no one that you like necessarily think about replacing, and he should be one of the, probably not the cornerstone of this defense, but a guy that is going to be there, is going to be starter, and you still hope that there is potential to improve for him. In terms of corner room, mid-season they kind of let go of Emmanuel Forbes. They were just fed up with this. He never delivered for them in a year and a half, picked by previous regime. They just cut the ties. Was a little bit surprising, but it was clear that it's just not going to work. They traded for Marshall Latimore. Unfortunately for them, he was dealing with injuries, and when he was back on the field for them, he did not look great. I'm not going to like super lower him based on this year, like changing scenarios. With Saints, we talked a lot, like Saints situations kind of depressing. So if anyone who kind of under delivers there, I'm like a little bit on the note, like where are we going? But for Marshall Latimore, this was not the first year that he struggled. Like, if you look at start of his career, he was definitely on trajectory to become an elite corner. And, last couple of years, some injuries, but some of his play definitely like moves him out of that. And definitely a guy that probably over summer series, I won't lower him, but I will watch carefully starting next year. And when we talk about potentially some moves that did not pay off for this front office, the move for Latimore was solid. I really understood the process, but this might prove a little bit of a mistake. We already talked about Mike Sanderson. He was the best performing corner in this group. Well, Benjamin Just, it didn't really go his way. Yeah, that was really good. No production. Like, I don't want to say no sense in terms of coverage, but like when we talk about Percy Butler and Benjamin St. Just, like if somehow they end up like covering the similar space and you are a QB, you are definitely looking there because you don't want to try Chin or Sanders still. You can go and attack this duo, and more often than not, you can just pick them apart. And again, like as I've said in the beginning with like Jaden Daniels, like this defense gave up more points than any playoff defense. Any team that went into the playoffs, even like considering Lions, which lost pretty much a lot, like their best players from that defense. So kind of tells you that this was definitely not championship level caliber defense. Like nobody kind of expected that, and especially when your two highest paid players are under delivering, the third highest that you've traded for was injured and did not deliver. Like I'm just going to say it like this. I think Dan Quinn is going to get this defense right, but it was pretty much impossible task with these obstacles that we talked about in year one. We talked about Derek. He did not get too much to play. Noah Igbe Nukene. I'm sorry, hard name for me to pronounce. I think that the fact that he played so many snaps kind of tells you where this defense is at, and it tells you even where Emmanuel Forbes, like how much they had to be fed up with him. Obviously, they don't necessarily play the same position, but Forbes could play outside, Mike Sinister could play slot, and Noah could not be on the roster. Like he's another former first-round pick, by the way, in 5 years. I mean, this is probably his best season, and it looks like this. Like he was pretty much problem in everything. So yeah, there was not too much to begin with in terms of Commanders defense. With that being said, let's shift our focus towards the awards. And who could be a draft hit? Yeah, it was Jaden Daniels. Who could have guessed, right? There are nothing to add. Like, what a year for Jaden. The best rookie QB performance ever. I don't think that's controversial by any stretch of imagination. In terms of draft blunder, I will go with Luke McCaffrey. I feel like compared to guys that you could have get in this position, you could have done definitely better. Again, like there were a couple of journeyman guys, veterans, or like guys that did not necessarily show too much in the NFL, and they all outplayed him. Like given they played very well, but it did not like even get to that level. And I really wonder about his future. In terms of cornerstone of this franchise, we came back to Jaden Daniels because how could we not? So much fun he provided, and I think this is kind of how every single Washington fan feel about this pick. Just look at the smile of Jaden, and I think you feel the same. Really excited about this man's future. In terms of unsung hero, I mean, it's not like Bobby is necessarily unsung or didn't get his accolades. I feel like in this part it was kind of slightly biased, but obviously when we talk about this team, it was always about the offense, about Jaden Daniels, and I feel like if Bobby Wagner wasn't there and wasn't delivering as great of a season, because he really had really special season, like even on his standards, like especially given his age, this defense would have been almost unplayable. Like he kind of at least held it together. It's like so much as you can do as a linebacker, but I really feel like they would absolutely fall apart if Bobby wasn't there. So that's why he gets this award from me, not just because he's one of my all-time favorites, but he is. In terms of flop, it was always picking between Darren Payne and Jonathan Allen. And at the end of the day, I went for Payne. I feel like his season was even slightly worse, but both of them really, really disappointing. Like, he's been problem in run defense. He did not deliver pretty much anything exciting in terms of pass rush. Like, some games, like let's just for sake of it, let's just watch what his best games were to just give you like some idea against like which type of defenses he even like was able to be seen out there, because I feel like his numbers are even like skewed because of that. Because okay, so he feasted on Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants. Like, okay, it's not necessarily bad, but when they needed him the most, against Dallas, he was, that was not necessarily a game. Against Tampa, he didn't play much. Against Detroit, they needed him to play much, and he was just getting bullied by the offensive line. So, really disappointing year for Darren Payne. I'm not surprised that they are sticking with him with the amount of cap hit that they would have to eat with releasing him. But if he continues to play like this, he is going to be gone in next offseason. With that being said, let's check what this franchise is in terms of overall. Head coach Dan Quinn, I go for B- on Dan Quinn. Again, I like Dan, but is he super great? Does he have like too many accolades to his name? We obviously remember his Super Bowl with the Falcons. I think he did a really good job. Like, he definitely went up on my like coaching ranking. I would say like he's kind of the mid level of coaches, which is still really good. Like, we have some ridiculous coaches in the league. So yeah, but do I like want to put him somewhere close to A plus? Not now for me. And obviously, like, his side of the ball is defense. His defense did not deliver. Like I said, there was super many obstacles, so I don't hold it necessarily against him. But from his best guys, he couldn't get pretty much anything out of. In terms of 2024, how can you not go for an A plus? Like, I know you have not won a Super Bowl, but like, from having a number 2 pick to picking as 29, having hope, and really having your franchise QB, like, yeah, that's an A plus for me. Yeah, in terms of QB, this would have been 4 pluses if it was possible, but I'm capped by 3 pluses. In terms of hot seat for Dan Quinn, the only thing why it's not 1 but 2, it's because his defensive side of the ball was underwhelming. Like I said, too many obstacles, so that's just why it went from 1 to 2. But yeah, like, again, in terms of finances, like, they had a nice amount of cap space, but not necessarily the biggest one. They had some bad contracts. We already talked about Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne. They had to deal with, and they didn't necessarily get like super much out of this rookie class besides Jaden Daniels, who plays a huge role even in finances, because like, you have a guy that right now, like, he would get paid $60 million, like, and you are going to pay him like $6 million next year and 8 after that. So that plays a huge role in their finances, but it's not like absolutely prime situation. They have some bad contracts, and like, their past draft picks are not necessarily even on the roster, like in case of Forbes. What is the strength of his team? Well, Jaden Daniels. Like, that was easy. I know, like, I try to not go for this route very often, but how can you not for the Commanders? Like, this was his show, this was his story, and he absolutely deserves all the accolades that he could get. In terms of division, from the perspective of the Commanders, so, well, you have Eagles, who are juggernaut, so that's very bad. But you have Cowboys, who, to me, are not in a great situation. They are paying their free-to players about half of their salary cap. They did not like reach even conference finals with paying these guys 100 million less. So why should I expect them to change that? Like, when you are actually paying these guys, I feel like they kind of missed their window. I don't necessarily like the moves in terms of front office that they are making. So I really don't consider Dallas as anything more than like an average team. And in terms of Giants, like, like, they have exciting rookies, but they don't have a QB. They don't have a clarity. Both general manager and head coach are on the hot seat, so they're probably like a bottom 5, bottom 7 teams in terms of how you look at them. So this could have been one minus. It was kind of between this and neutral, and at the end of the day, I went for neutral because I really like it. For me, the Dallas is like, yeah, that's a really questionable team in my eyes and where they are heading. In terms of how this roster could look like I said, I really like what they've done with this offensive line, and like in terms of, I feel like this is a nice setup that you have, and when opportunity arises, you can try to upgrade on pretty much 3 places of this roster, which again, like one sneak peek into free agency episode, the opportunity arises, and they were able to sneak Larry Tunsil from the Houston for kind of very cheap price, at least in my opinion. So he's going to be their starting left tackle. We'll see what it means for Brandon Coleman. There's something about him putting him into the guard. So Nick Gallagher's job could be in danger with that, or he's just going to be a swing tackle, or perhaps they will try him as a right tackle. But overall, this is, when I said like on a budget, this was very nicely built O-line. That's what I meant. Like you have 2 pieces that you are happy with. That's Sam and that's Tyler, and then you have like 3 guys that, if opportunity arises, you can replace them, or you hope for the development with Brandon Coleman. So really like low-key, this is a nice situation despite you are not seeing like a great freaking O-line. In terms of weapons, I feel like Zach Ertz is going to be back. I think Brian Robinson should be their feature back. And Terry McLaurin is going to be the number 1. In terms of other guys, I really don't know. Like, I don't know how they're going to build it. Like, again, right, I kind of know now a little bit, but I will leave that to free agency episode. But when I put this slide together, I feel like, okay, we will see who will they go forward. And I definitely didn't feel like neither Ben Sino, neither Luke McCaffrey did enough to be on this page. Perhaps Austin Eckler could have been as kind of the 6th man. We always do 3 wide receivers, 1 running with 1 tight end, and that's kind of the X factor for this offense, the guy that's like the 6th man. And it could have been Austin Eckler. I have him as a backup, and the same for Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey. I really felt like for Cornelius Lucas, they would like to keep him, but with Tunsil, they were probably easier to let him go, though. Like the fact that he signed for 2 years, 6.5 million overall for the Cleveland, that's freaking steal, man. Like, yeah, we will talk about free agency in different episodes. In terms of defensive line, as you could see, I predicted them to cut Jonathan Allen, which happened. Really, Darren Payne should have been cut if it was much more affordable. He's not playing towards his contract, but next to him, Jerjan Newton, Dorrance Armstrong, I still feel like they probably were in the hunt for Myles Garrett if he ever become available. They might keep Dorrance Armstrong as their one. Here I was like, they will probably try to bring a guy that's going to compete for that number 1 spot, but definitely he's going to be part of the rotation. And then some linebackers, I feel like this duo worked super well combined, and they had the money to bring them back, so I did expect them to do so. In terms of secondary, Marshawn, you've traded for him. He's going to be kind of make or break year for him. If they even keep him on the roster for 2026, given the money that he is supposed to have. Mike, you feel good about him. Jeremy Chin, again, I really feel like both him and Frankie Lou showed enough that you want to keep them. We will see if that happens. And Quan Martin, do you want to upgrade on that? Do you want to make him a starter? So I, again, went for him as kind of the 6th spot. Not really sure, kind of on the edge of this roster. Obviously, if they don't bring Jeremy Chin back, I definitely expect Quan Martin to start. In terms of backups, I'm really not sure about many of the guys besides Percy Butler, and with him, it's just they have him on the 4th year of a cheap contract, not necessarily that I do hugely believe on his upside anymore. So that was your Commanders. I've tried to not make it all about Jaden Daniels, but how could you not? Sometimes slip up back to that because, yeah, he was freaking special and so excited about the future of this team. Let me know down in the comments how you liked this episode, and till next time, have a nice day and see you guys.